Hi everyone, we're Verena,
Sandra,
and Kerstin
from Twisted Ramble Games, and we are here on Bammsters Rated R to talk about our game Duru, about moral rats and depression. Sorry, I didn't see you guys.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Bammsters show. I have been abandoned and left on the field of battle alone. My compadres both have had other things pull them away, so I will be here solo. And I am getting the opportunity to interview a few developers who are here to speak about a game that is starting a Kickstarter this week. The game is Duru, and I am joined by Kirstein. I'm probably horribly mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. Verena and Sandra.
Hello.
So, fair disclosure, we started this interview a few minutes ago and I forgot to hit record. So we're getting to do this all over again. And so please introduce yourselves again and tell us a little bit about the game so folks know what it is that we're talking about.
Okay, hi, I'm Kerstin, which is the correct way to pronounce it, but I'm not picky about it. And Duru is a 2D puzzle platformer that is set in a West African-inspired mole rat colony. And basically, you play as this little mole rat that has to gather food for the colony and has a companion. And this companion depicts the main character's growing depression. So you have this little black creature you have to drag along that will hinder you, that will manipulate you, but you still have to put up with it.
So, the main character is Duru, or the depiction of depression is Duru?
Actually, neither.
Oh, neither. Okay. So where did the name come from then?
It is Swahili, I think, and it's a spiral or a cycle. And it's, well, when you have a depression, then it's mainly a cycle that goes on, and that's why we took that name.
Ah, okay. That's really interesting. That's actually pretty cool. So you say that the game is based in West Africa. What other kinds of references have you taken from that area and made sure to put into the game?
Well, we mainly took a lot of the plants that grow there and just put them underground, which basically not correct, but yeah, you know, it's art, so we can do it.
Creative license.
Yeah. Right. And basically we took a lot of references from the Dogon people, which is a tribe in Africa there, and they have specific kinds of pearls and headdresses, and especially they have a unique style of painting their houses or their caves, and that style and painting style we also took into the game. So the little mole rat character can draw something from her mind into reality, and those little pictures are in a Dogon style.
Oh, okay, cool. So how did you settle on using mole rats as like the main focus?
Basically, I had the idea of a game about depression, but didn't want to have it like the connection to humans, because our way of doing it is to put a safe distance between you as the player and the subject matter that is like really dark and depressing at times. And I wanted animals also because I know that Verena can do really cute animals. And mole rats are one of the few animals that have like a hive structure, kind of like ants. And
Okay.
every mole has its place, has a job. It's also kind of like humans. So yeah, that was the connection there. And it's important to point out we have gray mole rats and not naked mole rats.
Okay.
So ours look cute. Even in real life.
So you talk about the how depression can be a dark subject matter, yet when you watch the trailer, especially initially, it seems very light and fun. Are there darker moments that you encounter, or how does that balance there between the light and fun and the dark of depression?
Yeah, there are definitely darker moments. That only gets stronger due to the colorful environment. Basically, whenever Tuli, that's a main character, is alone with Bale, that's the name of the creature that depicts depression. You can feel like it's heavy. It weighs on her, and she's all alone with it. So these are the darker moments. Also, when the depression gets stronger and seems to overwhelm her. Yeah. Also, we have like our character is suffering from a reoccurring dream, in which she lives through basically the depression that she has during the day when she's awake. She also has trouble sleeping. So yeah, these are the darker moments of the game.
But we actually did choose, a lighter color theme because we didn't want to trigger anyone, basically. So we had a lot of people wanted to play, ask, will this trigger me again because I had a depression? So we wanted to actually make it a little bit lighter, but also, interesting, so people start talking about it, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to help people get over their depression, because we are by far no specialists in that, but we want to help people who maybe have a depressed friend realize that there is a problem, and then he can help the other person, for example, because a lot of people don't realize why other people just suddenly pull away from their friends and just stop having contact with them. And maybe while playing, they realize, okay, maybe my friend has a problem and I should at least ask if there's a problem.
Kind of just be there as a support system, checking in on them from time to time.
Right.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things did you put in the game as far as like game mechanics that would kind of, I guess, show that type of behavior?
We have like a whole colony of mole rats, and you can interact with the other characters. And when it comes to these misunderstandings in the everyday social life, we always have this perspective of an outsider, so we can like objectively evaluate what Tuli is doing, how she behaves. And we also communicate her thoughts. So, that's maybe important to mention. Our game has no dialogue in it, because as soon as you hear like the word depression, it already has a weight, and it also goes in a very distinctive direction, and we wanted to avoid it. So we have like this picture dialogues, and also like the internal thought process of our main character. And we can see when she feels like guilty, because guilt is a very big part of depression, especially when it comes to the connection with other people, because you don't want to weigh down on your friends, you don't want to drag them down. Also, you have like this feeling you brought this thing into, in this case, the colony. And Tuli is also scared that it might affect other people. And thus she pulls away. And understanding this is also a big step when you are dealing with someone who suffers from depression, because sometimes they can't react in the way we would expect it. So if you ask what's going on, are you okay? They mostly say okay. Or sometimes if you try to reach out, they don't have the strength to answer. And this is not because they don't want any contact, it's just they can't in this moment. And we can see Tuli, who is like blocked by this dark creature, And we can also see what the other Morets do. Like they say, okay, she doesn't want to talk. I go. And this is the exact wrong behavior. So we see how it makes Tuli suffer even more.
So the way that you guys talk about this, it seems, and I hope I don't get too personal. If I do, it's cool. Just let me know to move on. But it seems like you guys are very passionate about this. A lot of times with passion like that, it comes from some kind of experience. So is it the inspiration for making a game like this? Is it something that you were learning about and got really passionate about, or is it something that's come from personal experiences, or?
It's more from personal experiences. So either one way somebody had it, but we all know somebody who has had it. And so we made our own experiences in two ways, maybe. So yeah. I, for example, had a friend or have a friend. She was very unsure about anything. She also didn't want to, as Kerstin said, put weight on me, and tried to not confront me with this topic of depression, but she opened more and more. And after 1.5 years, she wrote me a very, very heartwarming message and said to me that the last 1.5 years really helped her to come out of herself. And now she made some kind of change. So her behavior changed totally. She's more open to everyone. She tries to make contacts to new people, and this were all things she didn't do for many years. And she said it helped her a lot just to have people around her that don't have any psychological illness. And she was in kind of circles that she just had no neutral person to talk to. And so that was one of my experiences that really, brought me into this project. And so this is fun.
Yeah, also it's like a topic that affects many, many people. So you can say that 1 in 4 persons at one point in their life will suffer from depression, or have suffered from depression, or are currently suffering from depression. So you can do the math. Like it's like 1, 2, 3, and I'm the fourth. And the thing was, I think I was suffering for a longer time than I know, like from teenager years until sometimes even now. And I found that talking about it really helps, and being open about it. But not everybody has reached that point, because it's a subject that some might not want to hear about. I think it's getting better, and there are more projects raising awareness for it. And if you lower this barrier of talking about it, you find most of the times people are more accepting than you might think. So I just, when I made new connections, I just said it right away, because sometimes I couldn't answer, or I would cancel dates or something like this. And I said up front, it's sometimes when I just can't deal with people because of this condition. But it has gotten a lot better. And so that's also like a reason this project is very close to my heart, that I want to help others being able to be open about it and find acceptance, because that's really what helps you, aside from like therapies.
So that's what we want to do with our project and our Twisted Rumble Games game studio. We want to raise awareness for stigmatized topics. So people have the possibility to talk about stuff or learn depression, and that it's not just that the person is just you have a lot of the older generation that is thinking about depression being you just don't want to do it, just go outside, just smile, that helps, all that stuff that actually really doesn't help a person who's depressed right now. And we hope that the game gives an opportunity to talk about the problem, because you have a point like, I played this game and the character was so-and-so and had this kind of feeling, and actually I could really relate to it because I have the same problem right now. So that's what we hope to do with our games as well.
Yeah, I think that's, at least from what I've heard and understand, that's a common misconception when it comes to things like depression is, just go out and do things that make you feel better and that will make you happier. And that's not necessarily the case. And it's something I had to learn a while back, and at least with friends that I've had who've dealt with or are dealing with depression. Just try to check in on them from time to time, and then just try to joke around with them. Not that necessarily will do anything long term, but just try to, do something that hopefully creates a bright moment for that time frame, even if it's not long lasting, but hopefully it helps in some way. Something like this where it could teach people, that could be really cool, because I think a lot more people need to learn exactly what you're talking about, where it's it's not just a matter of getting out and getting some sun and maybe going and watching a comedy or something like that. That's not going to fix things.
Yeah.
So that the representation of the depression, then something we talked about when I forgot to hit record, but I'll ask again. Is it something that all of the other mole rats can see, or only the main character?
Yeah, only the main character, and even she isn't aware at the very beginning. She just notices that things are getting way harder. And at some point she realizes, oh, I got this creature with me. Like, not everybody who has a depression knows about it. And sometimes there comes this moment where they hear about it or read about it, and they're like, I got this. And it's like a huge moment of relief, because from this point on, the thought that you are just, that it's normal to feel that way, it goes away, and it starts to become, oh, I got this thing. So that's for our main character, oh, I actually got this thing. And later in the game, we plan on showing the creatures of other Morets as well. Because, as I said, it affects more than just one person, and we have, I don't know how many Moret characters we have now, but maybe 30. So you can also see, okay, there at least one or two more have to be there that have a depression, and so they have various problems, and we want to depict this as well. So after Tuli gets this moment of, oh, there is this thing, she is able to see later on that everybody has a bigger or smaller thing.
So actually the game has two parts. It's always, you have the levels where Tuli needs to pick up food, and that's the puzzle part. So you go through underground tunnels and try to get roots. And then you also have time in the colony where you can just walk around and talk to other people and see how they react. And so you see the normal life of the game character, not only just working, but also trying to socialize with others, and how that becomes more difficult in the course of the game.
Okay. And one of the things I wanted to ask about was the design, how you guys settled on the design for the character that represents the depression, because at least at first glance, it kind of looks like a dog, which, dogs are almost more, I guess I want to say almost exclusively, like, at least when I think of dogs anyway, I think of, happy creatures, because they come up and they're happy to see you and they're licking you and wagging their tail and everything. So it seems like that's kind of like a really an interesting choice. It may not be modeled after a dog, but it just, the way that it looked kind of made me think of that. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, because that's exactly opposite from the kind of behavior I would expect out of a dog.
You're not the first one that calls it a dog. So actually there is, I think, an English expression about the big black dog. It was also a depiction of depression. At least there's a book about it. But actually, it was a process to depict the depression of. We wanted to give it also a reference to the main character, and each mole rat actually has a certain kind of white colored spot. It has a spot on their bodies, and Tuli has it on her head actually. And the dark creature wears a white mask, which is also a little reference to the Dogon people because they also have a lot of carved masks. And on this mask, you also see a reference of this white spot. So you can, if people are good at looking, maybe they see the reference that it's actually a face mask of Tuli, which is on this depression's face. And it has 6 legs, so it cannot be a dog. Because that would be crazy.
Well, I mean, we're talking about mole rats who paint on walls and whatnot, so artistic license.
Well, yeah. Sometimes he actually behaves like a big cat. So
okay.
It's actually very interesting because Kerstin programmed it completely, and it's really an AI. So it runs after Tuli, but it like the main character, but it actually really is programmed to search for its own way. So it's not just following Tuli's path, but it's searching for its own way.
It's not scripted.
Yeah, it's not.
Word.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes it just behaves like a depression, and
Yeah, it's
yeah,
yeah.
very funny
It's-
sometimes to watch it.
Yeah, at one point it really did turn into my cat because I put in a behavior that you can paint boxes to push around the level to reach higher ground, and whenever you paint a box and push it, it just jumps on top of it and you get slower. So yeah.
Cats in boxes, yep. Well, okay, so speaking of that, one of the things I saw in the trailer is a point where Tuli is putting a seed down on like a little platform to open up a wall so that she can then jump up and get access to an area. But as soon as she walks away, the little dark creature comes over and removes the seed. So you have to, every time keeps coming over and removing the seed, making things, like you talked about, more difficult. What other kinds of things, like the box or the seed, or can we expect to see where we're basically fighting in a way against this creature to try and accomplish a task?
I was
We just
yeah, I was waiting for the others because I think I talked too much. Yeah, but so we have like the pushing behavior from that you described. You also can manipulate it. So what we see in the trailer, you have like this circle where you're trying to do the same thing over and over, and it just doesn't work. You can also, so you have to adapt your behavior. Basically, you can distract it when you put a root down, like a vegetable painted one, and it leaves you alone for a couple of seconds so you can do your thing. Then it holds you back. So if you get away too far, then it will start basically raging and keeps you back so you can't go on without it. What's not in there yet, and we have to see if we can manage a time-wise to put in there, are like other creatures you encounter that have a certain behavior. Like I was toying around with the idea of having smaller ones that just stick to the character, so that everything bad is just weighing down and on her, and you have to either avoid them or try to shake them off again. But we have to see about it. So yeah, it's currently work in progress. Like we have a demo ready soon. And after that, it's gonna be a fun time when we go back to concept work and try to figure out what we can do to improve.
And basically, you can't draw a lot of things, so you can only draw like a big stone and small roots, but you can't draw like 10 big stones. So you have to actually think about what you do with your resourced colors you have. So that it's also a mechanic that you have to think about.
And you'll later learn more objects that you can draw. And one of my favorites that I'm looking forward to is Tuli will be able to basically draw a self-portrait. And then we can really see how she perceives herself. Because it's like a uglier version that kind of looks like a bear, like it has 6 arms and legs. And that shows us how her vision of herself changes, because she paints on like the save points and also in her room, and we can see how her self-perception changes.
Oh, that would be cool. So,
And,
oh no, go ahead.
can I? Yeah. And the more passive thought we had was that the paintings Tuli can paint will change its appearances. So in the beginning, it looks totally normal, like the painting on the wall. But as the illness gets stronger, these paintings are kind of washed away, or not clear anymore. So you see that her mental state is also changing.
Because what she always loved was painting, and the further the depression goes, even that is not fun anymore, and then she just stops doing it. And that way you can also see her mental state, because some days it's better and some days it's worse. And so you could actually also see in the beginning of the new day how she is going to cope.
Depression is not a straight line.
Yeah.
Right. And so with the paintings, are these things that are just paintings on the wall, or when she paints it, is it something like it's an object that's there, or is it just the wall painting that's distracting the depression character?
It's both a bit. So you have these wall paintings where you can see, for example, what Tuli has done. So it's like a diary she paints on the wall. But you also have these objects you can paint into reality, so that you can use it to solve puzzles.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, because I remembered you talked about the boxes, but I wasn't sure if like the things being used to distract the other character were things that were just on the wall, or if they were actually like objects she was creating. So,
Well, in the beginning, she has 3 things that she can draw. It's like a big box where she can jump on, and it's a stone, or we call it a seed, but it's a stone that you put on a lever or a button. And then there's the root that basically gets eaten by the depression. And so you can just throw the fruit, it runs after it, and then you have time to at least try to solve the puzzle.
Yeah, it's a bit like a dog in that way.
Yeah, fill up your emotions with ice cream, I don't know.
oh, is that a power up in the game? Ice cream?
I'm not sure if they are technically advanced to do that.
With ice cream? Okay.
So, I guess, we're going to have your typical, like running, jumping kinds of things. What other kinds of mechanics can we expect to, like, how complicated do some of the puzzles get?
It really depends how good you are at solving puzzles, I guess. The problem with puzzle games is that, you really don't know who's playing, and it's hard to balance them. But we try to make it more accessible for everybody, because we want to reach a wide audience to enjoy it. It will also be like a shorter game, so you can experience the whole story in 1 or 2 sittings.
Okay. What's your target time frame then?
Like 5-ish to 8-ish hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I find as adults, or at least typically, I should say, adults, we tend to overcomplicate the puzzles. You bring a little kid in and they're like, "I'll just do this," and that's like, why didn't I see that?
Yeah, that's right.
So
And I think
Also-
designers,
And also, when we tested the first puzzles on events, it was sometimes a bit frustrating because you thought about a solution, but the player then made something totally different, and it worked out.
oh, yeah, well, it's a good thing, I guess.
But yeah, that's a good thing.
Yes, but I was surprised. Oh,
Yeah.
I think that's an age-old rule for game design, which I learned playing tabletop role-playing games as a dungeon master, but I think it applies just as well to video games, that, you know, no matter how much time you spend designing something and trying to get a player to go a certain direction or do a certain thing, at some point they will do something that you don't expect.
Yes, I feel you on this one.
So I guess I probably should ask this at the beginning, but as far as putting this whole thing together, which function do each of you fill? As far as so we talked about art, programming, and whatnot. Like, what do you guys do within the company?
I make the start. So I'm making the level design. So I sometimes was frustrated when people did something else than I thought. And as I worked into a company where I make marketing, I also concentrate on marketing and sales stuff, PR, more marketing and PR.
Yeah, she's saving us because Cassin and I were like, well, we need to talk to people. Yeah.
She's a networking queen. It's amazing.
Very good with names as well. Yeah, I do the whole art, so the design of the molds and also the colonies and also the animations. So everything you see is basically what I do.
And I do everything else. Yes. Except sound, yeah. So I am in charge of the programming and story, which is my great passion, and concept. So like the mechanics, the overall game design.
And you mentioned. Oh, sorry.
Yep. No, go ahead.
Oh, when you mentioned sound, that was one of the things I was going to ask too. Was so? Are you guys outsourcing sound? Where are you guys getting sound from?
We met at the DevCom actually. A very cool person. He was really feeling this topic, and he was inspired by it because it has this unusual theme. It's the Mole Rat colony in a West African inspired setting. And he said, yeah, I would like to work with you if we can manage something. And he also is from Berlin. So we met again, and then we just made something.
That's cool.
So yeah, big thanks to Lucas and Alex, who are very patient and
and made
who are great guys.
Yes, your sound was gone. I think you have to repeat it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't remember what I said.
Well, I know that's where G met you guys too, was at DevCon.
Yeah,
so
right.
yeah.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that he said too when he saw the flyer for and the information for the game, was that it really stood out from as being very different in a good way from a lot of the other stuff that was, you know, at DevCon last year. So you know, props to that, because you guys are doing something that definitely, you know, stands on its own, stands out, and gets people's attention.
Oh, thanks.
So I wanted to ask too about Twisted Ramble, and I looked at the name of the company. Like, where did that come from? Is that also tied into this game in any way, or the types of things that you guys want to do, or?
Well, it's basically our main form of communication.
Okay.
And because sometimes we just run out of words and then we make up new one and noises too, and it works. So we were like, yeah, that's our identity. We roll as this, and
It's
yeah.
twisted, and so it's actually not the logo is the ram, the animal, but we just took the word ramble, just saying words, not really pronouncing them correctly or something.
Yes, if some people might have noticed on this podcast.
Okay, so the episode we're planning will go out, I guess, the day right after the Kickstarter starts, because I believe you guys are starting that on Tuesday, and our episode goes out Wednesday. For the folks that are tuning into this, is there anything that you want to make sure that they're aware of for the Kickstarter? Any special goals or anything like that?
Sandra, you can talk about it. You planned it.
I'm not sure what to say.
Well, we have a couple of stretch goals. So one of the major ones that we really hope gets accomplished is the port for the Nintendo Switch, because we really like this console and we really think that our game might be a good fit for that. Then also we wanted to have like another insight into the Moret's minds, if you will. So we have always the insight of Tuli and what her thought process is, so we can understand how she reacts and why. And we want to do like when you completed the game, to have a mode where you can see the thoughts of the other Morets. So you can see, okay, they are turning away from Tuli not because they are like mean or anything else, but maybe because they are hurt too. So this might be an interesting one.
That's cool. Yeah, and I think the Switch would be an excellent port for this as well, because I think that would be a really good fit.
Yeah, we also want to bring it to families, so also younger generations could play it with their parents maybe. But yeah, this topic is not only for old people, so hopefully we will get to that goal. We also have 2 other goals, but they are they're much higher, I guess. Maybe we reached this goal, but it's about a dialogue system, so that you may change the answers Tuli can give to their friends in the Moret colony. And we also would like to bring it to mobile devices, like tablets, mainly. But we would have to,
rework.
Rework the whole game mechanics and the way you can interact with everything. So this would be a much
would be very
time intensive. Yeah.
I'm missing a word.
Just with something I'd like to add to like the game mechanics, because you mentioned the dialogue system that may or may not come to happen if we are lucky. In the colony, basically every Moret character you meet, you can befriend them, and they have their own storyline. So it's a little bit like in games like Stardew Valley, where you can discover what their problems is, what their struggle is, and understand them even better and explore this way a bit.
Oh, okay. Well, excellent. I have one more question that I have to ask each of you, because it's our standard question, not game related, but just kind of fun. And I feel that we got a little bit prepped for this yesterday when we got a chance to chat about food anyway. So, but every guest that comes on the show, we always like to ask them, what kind of bacon do you like? How do you like it prepared? And what kind of beverage? Typically, we ask beer or cider. Would you pair with that? But it can be any drink.
I like my bacon best out of the oven. I don't like it frying in the pan because that always, for me, it's too greasy. And since I'm like bacon and eggs person, I sometimes have a glass of milk with it. Sorry, it's a boring one.
Nah, that's okay.
Oh, don't worry, I'm more boring. I'm a vegetarian, so. But when I used to eat meat, I really loved the bacon wrapped around goat cheese and then fried in a pan. And because that was my breakfast, I had coffee with it. But if it would be on a barbecue, it definitely would be beer.
So I was not prepared for that question because I missed the session yesterday. And I first understood bakery and not bacon, but good that you made the start. Well, I like bacon around Spargel. Was it Spargel?
Asparagus.
Yeah, and fried in the pan. And what to drink with it? I'm not sure. Water or cola? A Coke.
One of my favorites on the grill, since we're talking veggies and stuff, is wrapping some bacon around jalapeno with some cheese in it, and you grill that. It's really good. But since one of us here is a vegetarian, I keep hearing about seaweed bacon, and I keep meaning to find it and try it, and I haven't. But I guess there's some type of seaweed that is seasoned in a way that it's supposed to taste somewhat like bacon. I haven't tried it yet, so I don't really know.
Sounds good.
Never heard of it,
No.
but I want to try it.
Is it also black like the seaweed or green or do they any color?
I would assume it's probably some kind of either black, red, or green color. I honestly don't know. One of these days I've got to find it and try it, just to try it.
Oh, then you can make vegetarian bacon sushi. If it's like the seaweed and you just roll it around the rice.
True, yeah.
Sushi.
Yes. I have withdrawal symptoms because there's no sushi here.
Oh.
Another big problem.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it. Sorry for the technical difficulties we had on our end. Some out of our control and some just requiring a button push. But
No worries. We are very happy to be here.
Yeah, it was great.
So the game is
Thanks for the
Duru.
spontaneous welcome. Invitation, yeah.
The game is Duru. It's Kickstarter has just started. Definitely go check it out. This looks like it can appeal to a wide range of folks. It's definitely worth looking at and backing on Kickstarter. I guess that's it for me. And if there's anything else you guys want to say, we'll sign off after that.
Check our Kickstarter campaign. You don't have to support us if you are short on money. I know how it is in this time. But if you can share it or like our posts, that would help a great deal. So if you could do that, that would be great. And we will be very happy about it.
Thank you very much for listening.
Bye.
And we'll make sure all the links are in the description. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.